There was a time when the basketball world didn't just admire the Chicago Bulls, it revolved around them. A time when red, black, and white weren't just colors. They were a global brand. But as memorable as anything, it was the moment before tip-off that pumped up the crowd. The lights would drop. Then came the iconic intro music, and then the voice, Ray Clay.
And now, the starting lineup for your Chicago Bulls!
The Bulls' legendary PA announcer echoing through the United Center. By the time the final name was called, the crowd was in a frenzy, and the opposing team already rattled. The fear was real. The game felt half won. This wasn't just basketball, it was a movement, a spectacle, a global phenomenon, led by Phil Jackson's cerebral triangle offense, fueled by Jordan's obsession with greatness, and backed by a cast that brought intimidation and style. The Bulls didn't just win, they defined an era. And ever since Jordan's final departure in 1998, the Bulls have been chasing ghosts. Before they became legends, the Bulls were just another franchise. Founded in 1966, Chicago's third attempt at pro basketball. But this one stuck. They made the playoffs in year one, the only expansion team to do it. Guys like Jerry Sloan, Bob Love, and Norm Van Leer brought grit, but never glory. The 70s Bulls were tough, but while the Lakers and Knicks chased rings, Chicago kept falling short. By the early 80s, the seats were empty. The soul was gone. Then came 1984, and everything changed. Michael Jordan was drafted.
The Chicago Bulls pick Michael Jordan of the University of North Carolina.
And from his first game, it was clear. This wasn't just another player. Rookie of the Year, 28 points a game, an instant superstar. But even greatness needs help. The team struggled, coaches came and went. Then, a trade changed everything. Olden Polanese was sent to Seattle for a lanky, unproven forward named Scottie Pippen. At first, he looked raw, but you could see it, the potential.
Major jam! Wow! Fouls him hard! Now, right now.
The BJ. Scotty right, Michael left.
Oh!
Scary Pippen on the block.
Scotty with a...
Scotty Pippen when he gets a step.
In 1989, Phil Jackson took over as head coach, a former role player turned philosopher of the game, soft-spoken, cerebral, and unconventional. He introduced the triangle offense, a system built on spacing, movement, and trust. It wasn't flashy, but it was deadly. And under Jackson, the Bulls began to evolve from a one-man show into a complete machine. That season, the Bulls once again found themselves face-to-face with their greatest obstacle, the Detroit Pistons, the reigning champions, and Jordan's personal tormentors. Chicago had already fallen to Detroit in 2 straight postseasons. In 1988, they were outmuscled in the second round. In 1989, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, only to be smothered by the infamous Jordan rules, a brutal defensive strategy designed to wear down and frustrate MJ at every turn. And in 1990, it happened again. The Bulls faced the Pistons for the 3rd consecutive year in the Eastern Conference Finals. This time, they pushed them to the brink, a brutal 7-game war of attrition, emotion, and pain. But still, Detroit held on. The Bulls fell short. Again. It wasn't just another loss, it was a gut punch. The Pistons were the gatekeepers, and for the 3rd straight year, they had slammed that gate shut. But something was different this time. Jordan was no longer just the league's most unstoppable scorer. He had become a leader. Scottie Pippen had matured into an elite two-way force. Horace Grant was developing into a dependable third option.
Horace turns and faces. Now he's 3 of 3 from the floor, making 4 of 4 for Horace Grant.
And behind it all was Phil Jackson, quietly reshaping the Bulls' mindset, teaching them how to win as a unit, not just as witnesses to Jordan's brilliance. That 1990 loss hurt, but it hardened them. They weren't afraid of the Pistons anymore. They were preparing to end them. In 1991, it all clicked. The Bulls won 61 games. Jordan took home league MVP, and in the playoffs, they were surgical, dismantling opponents with calm fury.
And Jordan with a tough angle shot. Jordan off the spin to the scoop. Spectacular shot.
Then came the moment they had waited for. A rematch with Detroit in the Eastern Conference Finals. This time, there was no Game 7, no Jordan rules, no dirty fouls or mental warfare. The Bulls swept the Pistons 4-0. Total domination. And in a final act of petty defiance, the Pistons walked off the court without shaking hands. That wasn't just a series win, it was a symbolic passing of the torch.
Well, I think you have to give a credit to Scottie Pippen, Hardscrap, my supporting cast. These guys played extremely well. I think for the city of Chicago and for the organization, this is a big step for us, and we can only go and move up. Right now, we're looking forward to the finals and trying to do our best.
The bad boys were dead. The Bulls were here. In the finals, they faced Magic Johnson and the Showtime Lakers. But the Bulls weren't overwhelmed by the moment. They embraced it. They destroyed it. Jordan dazzled. Pippen suffocated. Phil orchestrated. Bulls in 5. Champions.
And the Chicago Bulls have won their first ever NBA championship.
Under the hat, that wasn't fair, but I'm covered with champagne and can hardly see. Michael, what does it mean to you?
It means so much. Not just for me, but for the team and for the whole city. It's been a 7-year struggle. When I first got into Chicago, we started at the bottom, and every year we just worked harder and harder until we got to it.
In 1992, they came back hungrier. 67 wins. Another MVP for Jordan. The finals brought Clyde Drexler and the Portland Trail Blazers. Another team with dreams of denying the dynasty. Didn't matter. Bulls in 6.
Jordan spotting Pippen.
Back to back.
It's the Bulls. Michael Jordan.
Stadium is going wild, as you can imagine. The Bulls have repeated.
Let the party begin.
Then came 1993. This time, it was Charles Barkley's sons. Barkley had won MVP. He was at his peak. But Jordan, he was possessed. He averaged over 41 points per game in the finals. Still the highest ever in a single series. Bulls in 6. 3 championships. 3 years. A dynasty born. Then, tragedy. Michael Jordan's father was murdered.
The man convicted of killing the father of NBA superstar Michael Jordan says he's innocent. James Jordan died in 1993. Andre Green and his friend Larry Demery were both charged with murder.
Broken and exhausted, Jordan shocked the world. He retired.
The Chicago Bulls have called a press conference for tomorrow morning, and there's high speculation and a report that Michael Jordan will retire from basketball forever.
At just 30 years old, in the prime of his career, the face of the NBA walked away. Even without MJ, the Bulls stayed strong. Scottie Pippen had a breakout season. 22 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. They won 55 games, made it to the second round. But the magic wasn't the same. Then, in 1995, the whispers became reality. Jordan was back.
You can do anything you want from this day on. So if I desire to come back and play again, maybe that's what I want to do. Maybe that's the challenge that I may need someday down the road.
Wearing number 45, he rejoined the team with 17 games left in the season. They made the playoffs, but were bounced by the Orlando Magic. Didn't matter. Jordan was back. The fire was back. The dynasty was back. From 1996 to 1998, the Bulls were untouchable. 72 wins, then 69, then 62. They crushed the league. They beat Seattle, and then the Utah Jazz in back-to-back years.
Kind of baiting him and saying, why are you retiring? You can still come back next season. What if we have a chance to win in the playoffs? You come back for the month of March and April. And he actually took the bait and he said, look, how about 15 games?
Jordan delivered legendary moments. The flu game, the game-1 dagger, and finally, the last shot.
Jordan, open, Chicago with the lead!
1 jumper, 1 pose, 6th ring. The Bulls had done it again. But then, they tore it down. Phil Jackson was forced out. Pippen was traded. Rodman was gone. Jordan retired. Again. Not because they were beaten, but because egos got in the way. The dynasty didn't fall. It was dismantled. The years that followed, painful. Elton Brand, Jamal Crawford, Tyson Chandler, Eddie Curry. The baby Bulls showed flashes, but never arrived. The franchise was lost, chasing direction, chasing relevance, until Derrick Rose, born in Chicago. Silent, humble, explosive. He wasn't just a draft pick, he was the chosen son. In 2011, he became the youngest MVP in league history, and Chicago believed again. With Joakim Noah, Deng, and Tibbs' defense, the Bulls were gritty. They were feared. But then, injury, a torn ACL, and everything began to unravel. Comebacks, setbacks, hope, heartbreak, and just like that, it was gone. Years later, a new trio formed. Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic. Talented? Yes, but not a contender. Injuries, defensive struggles, mismatched play styles, they made one playoff run, then faded. In 2024, DeRozan and LaVine were out of Chicago. Another reset, another collapse. Meanwhile, the league evolved. Denver, Milwaukee, Oklahoma City, teams that drafted smart, developed talent, built cultures, they rose, they adapted. The Bulls, still clinging to the past, still stuck in the middle, too good to tank, too flawed to contend. The Bulls aren't irrelevant, they're haunted by banners, by memories, by the ghost of number 23. Every guard is compared to Jordan. Every season judged by the dynasty. That's the curse of greatness. When you've touched the mountaintop, everything else feels like a valley. Chicago fans don't want just basketball. They want 91, 93, 98. They want greatness. They want belief. But until the Bulls stop chasing ghosts and build something new, they'll stay in limbo. A sleeping giant, stuck somewhere between yesterday's legends and tomorrow's promise. Will the Bulls ever be a dynasty again, or will they be stuck in mediocrity? Drop your opinion in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching.